Last time I ate Mars and Snickers and Meteor, I said, figuratively speaking, the Mars and the Snickers were orgasmic. Indeed, it turned out to be literally so. During that night, I first had a dream about a lesbian couple getting married, and obviously doing something erotic. And then the second time, I had a dream of a straight couple, and the third time, I have to be adamant about this. It never happened to me before, and it was completely through trickery that I should experience the orgasm with a gay sex. I thought that someone was gonna force himself on the female partner of the straight couple, but he ended up forcing himself on the male gender. So it was a very interesting outcome, unexpected. Indeed, something must be said about these chocolate bars affecting people's hormones in some way. I was correct, they do overstimulate you and change your hormone balance, but these dreams were quite shocking, especially the last one. And let me be clear about this, it was a purely biological movement. During the last one, I experienced no pleasure at all from gay sex. Not me having gay sex, but dreaming of two having gay sex. I used to go to my grandmother's. It was at her senior residence apartment. It was pure heaven, pure ecstasy. As I mentioned in the last video, I would be catered to all day long by my grandmother. She would constantly bring me food, some of the best traditional Lebanese items, usually done the very rustic way, prepared in the ways that they did it back then, when they didn't have all the modern appliances. She would figure now they tasted better back then because they did things directly on the heat, and she would improvise to get them tasting the way they used to taste, such as cooking stuff directly on the stove top, and grinding her spices with a hand grinder, a very, very old one. Things done the old-fashioned way, but the thing I loved the most was all the sweets that would be supplied to me constantly. I used to have psychedelic experiences. I would sit there and my grandmother would go back and forth to the kitchen, or she would knit some stuff, sit beside me and knit, and I would sit there and watch all my favorite shows and just let my imagination go wild, and I would be a big fan of science fiction shows and cartoons. This would be true a few days at a time, when during the weekends and during school holidays, which were plenty back then, Mondays and Fridays, we used to get off at least once a month, sometimes two a month, and I would have a blast at my grandmother's, just laying there. Often I would experience bursts of creativity. Something just would be triggered, and I would go into a long stretch of verbal poetry, or I would write down maps, create maps of imaginary worlds, and create vehicles that travel out of space, universes. I would just explode with creativity sometimes, and I would come up with the most amazing speeches that would run on for quite some time. At least I thought I did. I'm not sure if I did or not, but in my mind I came up with the most profound speeches. I wished sometimes I had recorded them, but you know, when you peak that level and mentality, your mentality peaks to a certain point, and your mind peaks to a certain point, and you reach that point, and then you do something at that point. Yet a bit later, your mind goes down to a lower level. I had those experiences at my grandmother's. Those are the most notable to me. I would wish I kept to the mental levels I reached, but you know, some people can retain those stay at those levels. I'm talking about intelligence here, and some people just revert back. They reach those high points and then drop back down to where they were, or even lower sometimes. It's difficult to meet someone who continues from those high levels of intellects to higher levels of intellects. But something I discovered exists, a reality I discovered exists while at my grandmother's. I wouldn't say I have kept or attained higher levels of intellects. I want to say I have went to those levels of top levels of intellects and jump to the next ones, I always drop down to lower levels of intellects all throughout my life, although maybe I have reached higher plateaus, if you will. The one thing I remembered at my grandmother's is an occasion that began my my rebellion, my loss of love with junk food was a visit by my grandmother's nephew, George, his name was. He used to own a convenience store, and he witnessed me. I think at that time I was eating gum and jelly beans, things like that, sunbursts. He witnessed me eating the candy, and I was offering him some. He commented to my grandmother in a contemptuous way that these companies are making millions upon millions off of selling water and sugar. Now that comment threw me back. I was very hurt by it. To me, junk food consists much more of water and sugar, but I just couldn't. He implanted the seed. He implanted the poison and I just couldn't get over the truth of what he said. It just stuck with me. I tried to deny it. I tried to debunk it, but I knew what he was saying was right. I want to believe it. Junk food was more than that. It was sophisticated, was had some value to it. It had some something else that can be worth the experience, such as flavors and good sensations. But when it came down to it, I started thinking, is it possible? Can it possibly be that anything you add sugar to would become a sensation? Everyone would want to buy it? Are these companies really getting rich only out of sugar and water? Obviously, he was a bit bitter about these junk food companies, especially chocolate makers, candy makers. He had a bitterness in him, maybe because he gave up the convenience store. He didn't want to face the fact he gave up something that might have been much more successful later on. But he implanted the kill switch and turned it on in me to go against the chocolate bars, junk food. It became very evident to me that I was fooled somehow. I got fooled by these big companies selling me basically sugar and water. Like he said, I became accepting of the reality, and I determined I was no longer gonna be a slave to my addictions to sugar and water, to basically a combination of sugar and water, and to all these items that these companies peddled to children. That began the journey to end my love affair with junk food. I can't say I acknowledge he started me off at a good journey in the right direction, but I can't give him full credit. I think he made the comment offhand without thinking that there was gonna be any repercussions to it. I kind of resented him because he looked down at me, hardly paid attention to me. So I'm not gonna say he was looking out for my best interests. I got some chocolate bars on Boxing Day. It was the first time I go shopping on Boxing Day. I was completely shocked because I figured Boxing Day was still a big deal, and it was gonna be a big deal this year. I thought I was gonna go there and the stores were gonna be advertising Boxing Day deals everywhere, and the stores were gonna be completely packed. Supposedly it was gonna be more people than there would be on Black Friday at the stores, more frenzy, but there wasn't. Uh, Obviously, I had a misconception about Black Friday. I mean, Boxing Day, and it was a big disappointment not finding the stores acknowledging the holiday in the way they used to in previous years. I felt like I missed the train. First store we went to was to Costco, and Costco did not recognize the holiday at all, at least not in store from what I saw. All the prices were the same. There was no Boxing Day signs where I went. I saw none. It was a big disappointment. I went there with my mother, no, my father. My mother drove us. So, boo to Costco. Boo, boo, double boo for sucking. And then I went to Walmart again. This time, all three of us went. The good thing about this day was we made a family occasion of it. We spent the time together. And at Walmart, there was a sign, Boxing Day sign, and a few items that were Boxing Day sales. But mostly it was not made to change most of the prices. It wasn't made to change the all around pricing of the items there. So again, it was hardly recognized. It wasn't recognized in the same spirit as years past. A big disappointment. but I remember to get a few more chocolate bars. This time I got two of my favorite. This caramel was number one to me 20 years ago. This was the number one chocolate bar, my favorite chocolate bar. And Rolo was my first favorite chocolate bar. This is the chocolate bar. That's the king. This is the chocolate bar that got me into this category of food, started me off in this category of food. Then we have this one I never tried before. It's called Kinder Bueno. This will be my first time eating it. So caramel. It's the most seductive. It's very easy to eat, obviously, to gobble down. You can say this is the one food you inhale, if there was any. Again, I'm expecting that very irresistible smell. I'm not finding it here. Just finding dark chocolate smell. Looking for that stringy caramel gooiness. You have to go out of your way to avoid making yourself sticky. I'm disappointed. The chocolate has a hint of coffee flavor rather than creaminess. I'm not getting a vanilla taste in the caramel, and there isn't any gooiness. It's more of the caramel I experienced with the Twix, which was not spectacular at all. It's a very downer. Very sweet, but mostly flavorless. I'm taken aback. This is not what I expected at all. There's nothing in this that's drawing me to eat more. It's not that pleasant. Supposed to satiate my thirst with caramel. Did not do the trick at all. I didn't feel like I ate any caramel whatsoever. It feels like when you find out when a role model of yours is a complete loser, an icon is not an icon at all. It's not worth having. I feel betrayed. Now, Rolo, when we first came to Canada, we used to have a convenience store beside our house, beside our building. Me and my brother Sam would go to the store and buy those sour gums and Rolo. Those were the only two things we used to buy. I used to go crazy about this stuff. It's so chewy. The feels like that juice, the chewiness makes in your mouth feels like you're drinking a really yummy drink when you're a kid, and you don't mind that it's has hardly any flavoring in it. It's just a thick caramel, flavorless caramel. But as a kid, the mildest flavors are emphasized. It connects me with that convenience store. I used to have a bond to it, and it was my first experience with commercially. I would go there, buy, purchase stuff. Like I said, only two things: the sour gums and Rolo. The worker, the owner there was Indian, typical, Homer or Simpsons convenience store, like convenience store. But it's very small, and it brings back vivid connections, vivid feelings, because that's where I and the only one time I maybe I did it twice, but it was a lesson, something that stayed with me forever. I committed shoplifting at the convenience store. The first time, at first, you think you want something big, but a few minutes later, once you get away with it, your conscience kicks in, and you feel the guilt. It was an intense guilt, and it made me want to cry. And you start to become suspicious, wondering if he caught you and he was gonna tell your parents, make you in trouble. You start to wonder about all these possibilities, dreadful possibilities, like if he's whispering behind your back, he's gonna tell your mother, he's gonna speak with your father or your brother when they're at the store with you, and it makes you very scared shoplifting. As I think I was 8 years old. Yeah, the second time I did it, immediately after I stepped out of the store, I knew I never want to do it again. I hoped I got away with it one more time, and I prayed to God that if I did get away with it, I was never gonna do it again. And it was at that time when I committed to my life to complete honesty. And it's not in terms of averting white lies, but harmful criminal acts and lying. That's when I decided that I was not gonna do such things. I was gonna live an honest life. Generally, my policy is to be as honest as possible all the time, so I don't have a fog in my mind about what really happened, around what really happened in this world, and try to see through the fog. In a sense, that makes me vulnerable in many ways. So Rolo, I never bought this since I was 8 years old. Around that time, from that convenience store, I ate it again, but I never bought it. That was unboxing day, was my first time buying it. Yeah, since for 27 years, if my math's right. these characteristic shapes I adore. It's not glistening, it must have been banged up a bit in the bag. I expected a glistening chocolate. No smell. Had the chewiness. I remembered, but there's this thing, this distinct weird coconut flavor. It's feels like coconut that tastes that's gone bad. I'm getting a hint of smokiness, but that flavor tastes like a tire or something. It's the consistency I like most of it about it. But again, it has a yucky flavor aftertaste. These bucket-like shapes. I like that bad flavor becomes less pronounced as you eat more and more of it. I'm getting burning sensation in my mouth. The caramel just been in my mouth swirling. Uh, I wonder what's the origin of that flavor. Maybe it's of an aroma that was in the storage. Being emitted by something else. Maybe it tainted it. There was something that can be characterized as sugar. If there was something that can be characterized as sugar and water, it is Rolo. Bueno. made, I suppose it looks like it's made in the same spirit as the other two. Chocolate bar with gooiness as its main component. Oh, it has a freshness seal inside, which nice addition. Someone is giving their customers the best they can give them. No small. So wafer with filling, I'm not sure. A cream filling maybe. The wafer is chocolatey. It has a good crunch, so that seal did the trick. It's preserved the freshness. I'm whiffing air through my nose trying to grasp at the flavors of this. Maybe it has a nut blended into it, but I can't identify anything distinctive. I can't even taste cream. It's just a vague nutty flavor. Mostly I taste is a chocolate wafer. Very sweet. The wafer, which has perfect crunch, crumbles in your mouth and you start feeling like you're eating a spoon of sugar. My verdict is it's not worth buying. I get nothing of value out of it. Kindle's Bueno. It's just a sugar shot, but maybe it's healthier than the others. I'm not sure.